Maneva na sema PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV de osia dem yopo.
Gabriella has also reacted to the NSS scandal. And I want you to join me listen to what she said about it and how he requests for the punishment of the victims, those who are involved in this scandal. This station still remains PENDREAM TV, the only channel that brings you the best and latest updates in politics. If you are new here, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, like and also share to other members that you know on your contact list. Any group that you belong to, let the channel go viral. Share the link for us. Thank you. And if you have anything bothering you or you want our assistance, you can straight drop a voice note on our WhatsApp number, which is 0277 128 777, and we'll be at your doorstep to assist you. Thank you.
Issuing threats back to back to Israel here and there. Obviously, they control the oil markets and its prices. So you won't be surprised if any country will want to monitor what's happening within that space, the Middle East space. And then we now, back home here, there's a U-turn of the implementation of the levy because we want to monitor. I'm not sure the logic that informed, because first of all, the communication to us was that this levy is supposed to help us rake in some revenue, which will be ring-fenced, obviously, and to help us clear the sector debts that we're faced with. So if prices are fluctuating for now, why do we want to bother about prices that are fluctuating on the market? We should wait until maybe it hits us hard and then we implement some more.
First of all, let me disagree with all the headlines that you have read. Whether it was attributed to the Honorable Afenyo-Markin or government taking U-turns and all those sensational headlines. I think that what has happened is actually a listening government, a sensitive government, that is showing the people of Ghana that indeed you have spoken and we have heard you. The geopolitics of Israel and Iran is just one aspect of what goes into oil pricing in Ghana. There are other contributing factors. But staying on Iran and Israel, Iran supplies the global economy between 1.5–2 million barrels a day. It's a big producer of oil. And I think they control like a little under 10% of global output. But Iran's output is supplied more towards the Asian Far East region. And with the Israeli strikes that is ongoing, what is likely to happen, aside the fact that, yes, starting from last Friday when this attack started, oil prices went up in response of the airstrikes. And so that is to be expected because, as I said, Iran is one of the big producers of oil. However, the effect on us is not something that we are going to experience immediately.
Yeah.
For price transmissions, China is the first to be hit. But that also depends on China's internal policies on oil imports. Because, mind you, they also have their own fields, small fields that they have capacity in. They have Russia that supplies them. They have other Middle Eastern countries that also supplies China. But the price effects will most likely go into cost of production in China. And as I said, how the Chinese manage their own economy. Here in Ghana, again, because of the prudent economic management that the NDC administration is undertaking. I mean, this is the first time in a long time that I have seen managers of the economy with focused laser attention on the economy and leaving nothing to chance. So things like price escalation in fuel. Today, they announced that there's going to be reduction in fuel prices in the pumps because we are dealing with consignments that came in, some last week, some 2 weeks ago. So the effect hasn't really hit the consumers yet. Again, it's early stages yet, but what the president said was very right. The directive to the energy minister to monitor and see, to make sure that the gains that we have made over the last 6 months and the benefits to Ghanaian consumers and businesses is not lost on everybody. Mind you, with increase in fuel prices, you're going to have inflationary issues if this is not handled properly. And inflationary not just for Ghana, but on the global scale. The global economy is already attempting to come out of 4 or 5 years of huge economic difficulties. And so definitely there could be the possibility that Ghana will experience some shocks. But for now, I trust in the capability of the Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson. Happy Father's Day to him. Honorable Dr. Arthur Forson, and then the other strong economists and finance people that are behind the team, working and making sure that the economy, the government's eye stays on the economy and they don't take their eyes off the ball. Again, the reason why I'm not so disturbed about escalating oil prices is also because, because of the management in the foreign exchange position of the country, we have stronger reserves now. Because of the activities and the ingenuity of His Excellency the President in creating the gold board, we also have gold reserves and buffers that we use to trade for commodities. And whenever there's a crisis like this, investors naturally draw more to gold, which also works in our favor. All right. So, as I said, the most important factor in this whole conversation for me is the managers of the economy, and they're keeping the focus on the details of how to cushion this country. Gone are the days when we were left to chance and then the least headwinds, and we are found wanting. I think that this particular team, the Arthur Forson, Johnson Esiama team, and Dr. Zakaria, and everybody else in that group, I think for the first time in a long time, that dedication, that intelligence, that letting data speak to economic management, for the first time in a long time, it's appreciated and it is seen.
So this has nothing to do with maybe backlash we see from the minority side in Parliament. It has nothing to, because when Roxanne was speaking to Channel, he said, and it quotes that, he said, the spokesperson for the head of communication at the ministry, that's the Ministry of Energy, elaborated on the government's stance regarding the current market fluctuation. I can confirm, quote, that the government of Ghana has issued by the GRA has postponed the implementation of the e-levy, This is what has been introduced. Okay, let me jump this one. It says that, so yes, I can give you that confirmation, but he stated that Roxanne highlighted that the delay for the implementation of the D-levy is linked to various domestic and international factors, including the Israel-Iran conflict.
As I mentioned, it was just one of the issues. That's not the only thing that government is going to stand on to take a decision. There are other factors. I told you about the effect of the gold board. I told you about the effects of the country's reserves positioning, its positive impact also. I've told you about the prudent fiscal management / economic management that is actually going on currently. I've also told you about the letting data speak to guide decision taking. But the issue about what you people are trying to call D-levy, at the end of the day, we still have to find a solution to how we are going to address the energy sector debt. And this one you have to forgive me because I may not be in the know 100% on what government is going to do to address it. But I know for a fact that it is the elephant in the room that has to be addressed. So if they don't implement the e-levy, the, what do you call it, energy levy, then clearly there has to be an alternative to raising the money to pay for the energy sector debt. So perhaps maybe they have mentioned, I haven't heard, or in the coming days, government will give clear directions on how that money is going to, how that bill is going to be funded.
Yes, because, you know, when the levy was introduced, there were also timelines as to how much we have to be able to raise every year so that we can make up with whatever is increasing. Because as the day goes by, the debt keeps increasing. So we need to, if we are, you know, we may have to charge the people to pay. We have to do it as soon as possible. There are still conversations that can be had around the energy sector levy. Because you see, I speak as a communicator for the NDC, but I'm coming to make my points based on my personal position on this particular matter, right? The government's position is that we are charging 1 cedi, but we've suspended it. From my layman's position, I thought and I felt and I believed, and I, in my little analysis, was of the view that the 1 cedi ought to have been looked at and probably a reduced rate. But government's position that they've reduced prices from 17 to 11. And so if anything at all, Ghanaians have gained 6 cedis or 5 to 6 cedis on a litre. And so that 1 cedi shouldn't affect the market the way that people were responding to it. The debate, you could see that it was divided and everybody had their position. I was in favor of so there was some of the debate I saw, which I was impressed in the sense that there were people who thought that if they, and these were ordinary street, you know, a lot of us did Vox Pops, so we were speaking to a lot of people. So there was one that said, if we have had a reduction in the fuel price itself, and we have to pay only 1 cedi because we know already that there's this debt, and we have to pay 1 cedi for a litre, we're ready to pay. As far as the money will be used for
what is supposed
to be. I liked that argument. I thought, okay, the people are coming around with, you know, the logic that is supposed to be. I mean, you know, because we've always had a problem with government and what they use the taxes for. So the argument of ring fencing, actually, I liked it, of that part, that of this particular levy. That's if it's really going to be ring fenced and we want to see it used for what it says it's going to be used for. However, right now, we're not sure what to expect with all this.
But how many times has the NDC given the assurance that we're taxing a levy or a tax and then we've diverted the money? Anytime we create a fund or a tax or any levy for a purpose, it is geared towards that purpose. Did you hear the NDC ever mortgage any of our attempt, not even to the extent of actually mortgaging? Did you ever see the NDC attempt in any conversation or a discussion propose the idea that we should even go and mortgage any of our funds? Never. That has never been in the conversations of the NDC. That was introduced by the MPP. When they mortgaged Get Fund, they mortgaged ESLA. And the reason why we are in this challenge is actually because of the decisions to mortgage these funds, including the NHIS. So we've seen the consequences of the decisions from the NPP's administration and how it has brought us to the challenge that the NDC is having to work itself out of. The issue is, within this 6 months, has the NDC brought relief to Ghanaians? And the answer is yes. Is yes. Even if you are blind, you will still know and feel and experience that there's been some relief. Ghanaian consumer, and typical of consumer behavior generally, people sometimes when you put them in a restrictive environment, as they have had to experience in the last 12 quarters of the NPP administration from 2021-2022, with inflation, high rising inflation, with challenges to the foreign currencies, with the general high cost of living, sometimes it takes people a while to really come to appreciate the benefits of when you have economic easing. Mm-hmm. Because it's something that is in the psychology of a man, that some things take time. And then some people within the spectrum of life will experience it at different times. I'll give you a clear example. When we were having this foreign exchange appreciation of the cedi, and people were calling for the market to reduce price as a result of the improvement in the country's foreign exchange, you saw how the market responded. For those who were doing the big distribution and were importing, it was much more easier for them to make the transition. But when you come down to where the retailers are and mass distribution, there's a challenge because not everybody is able to make that adjustment based on the current economic fundamentals. Okay?
Yeah.
And again, consumer behavior is because of how they have been programmed over the last 12 quarters. Mm-hmm. So these things take time for people to adjust. The benefits but the most important thing is that government has been able to sustain this progression over the last 2 quarters. And if you can project into next quarter, the cedi is now stable. Government is still managing the economy prudently. We're not in unnecessary expenditures. We don't hear frivolous expenditures. We don't hear flashy projects being introduced here and there. The programs that are being delivered are programs that are geared towards growing the economy, stabilizing the economy, growing the economy. We have not had any, even the idea to even propose fanciful things like cathedrals and all those things. Those things don't exist in NDC's lexicon. So the focus is the gains so far should be sustained. Data should speak. We should, and then aside from the fact that, let me mention this, apart from the fact that we are building on gold buffers, we also have to come to the point where we are able to build on our oil buffers. This morning when I was coming in, I was having a conversation in my head about the same conflict that is going, because right now nobody knows how long this conflict is going to last. We were here talking about Russia and Ukraine, how many, 4 or 5 years ago, and to date they are still fighting with the same intensity. And it's as if there's no side, no possible, what do you call it, insight?
Amicable solutions.
And
it means countries that are being dependent must find different solutions of taking care of themselves.
Exactly. And it depends on your own economic management. And I am very convinced that what government has, the team that government has, these are people that I've known for many, many years. And I know their strengths and I know their weaknesses. And I know how things are working behind the scenes. And I'm convinced that this will be sustained. But we also want to plead with Ghanaians that these are adjustments that we are all making. And the government, mind you, is a new government. Akosha will come and give you a whole list of, and they said this, and they said this, and they said this, and they've not done this, and they've not done this. We've only been in government for 6 months. So the expectations should be measured. But they should look at the pluses of this administration and the strengths of this administration and use that to judge the administration. And so far, we can all attest, even if you were blind, that compared to where we were last year, there has been great improvement in the economy. That is something that we have to admit. Give admission where it is due, give credit where it is due. Where there are lapses and laxities, we can address those ones. So that's where I end my
12. Okay, hey. I was even dialing without realizing I'm dialing. All right. So that's all you will say to it. Gabriella. Oh my goodness.
Welcome to my TED Talk. Annie, this is the second time that His Excellency has had to intervene in the national service. And to be honest, it's disappointing that an enterprise that is supposed to let young people experience some form of patriotic contribution to their country is turned into a money-making machinery for people to just abuse at the scale that these investigations has pointed out. Let me commend the Fourth Estate for a low man's job in their investigative reportage, because I think that is where the initial exposés came from. And then credible investigations has also gone on, and now it's not just the workers at the National Service who have been named, but vendors, participating vendors. And the shocking part was the Deputy Director General and the husband, in the husband's role. How people can plant in over 9,000 names. Now, if you do the calculation, if 9,000 people and everybody is collecting 700 Ghana cedis, how much money is that on a monthly basis? And then this is how much you are siphoning out of this. You look at the National Service personnel, the allowance is 700 cedis or something like that. What is 700 Ghana cedis? Today, when we finish, we go and sit and eat breakfast. If we eat breakfast 2 days, the money is finished. But this is patriotism, and we expect people to apply themselves to this. So how?
Well, your breakfast is 5 cedis.
So how do you justify? How do you justify something like this? It's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling and it's mind-blowing.
But it's all allegations.
Yes, it's all allegation, but there's technology to it, right? It's not like people are just saying things in speculation. Anything that doesn't come with anything back in it, I don't think. But so long as I can see effects of something, that is valid for me. And there's proof that strangers were added to this National Service thing. We saw people, the initial expose was showing us people who were even 80-something years old.
Pictures,
80-something years old, collecting National Service allowance. At that age, their great-grandchildren should be sorting them out. But your National Service...
I think there were some pictures I showed on the screen before of some grandparents,
you know,
of mine.
So
but you see, for me, the shocking part of this whole scheme is the banking.
Yes, and then you can also use people's data.
Yes.
To secure 30 million CD loan.
Yes.
So who's going to pay for that? Yes. The people whose data was used to... God damn it.
Hey, this morning, from nonsense to a...
God damn it.
You are unhinged though. This power has made you very...
God damn it. The NPP... So Nana Akufo-Addo, when he sits in his house and he hears these things, how does he feel?
No difference from when you exited power in 2016 and there were things about your government too that came out.
How does he feel?
It's going to... I mean, now that is... let's let the process...
But you let me even conclude. I'm not finished my submission.
What is with the...
No, when I was listening to Honorable Dominic, and Honorable Dominic, fantastic gentleman. I like him. Is he single? The press statement he made, no, Jesus Christ.
Gabriella,
delete that, tell your editors not to roll if you have 1 minute break. So the press conference that he did, no, he mentioned something about a non-prosecuting something. Did you write that thing down? I told you to write that word down for me.
Yeah, non-prosecution agreement.
What does it mean?
We need
when you snitches get stitches, but in this case, snitches get...
So snitches will work free.
Snitches will work free, that's what it means.
Snitches can't work free.
No. You see, that would be our street explanation to it. I am sure there is a legal
because you see,
no, I'm just
or explanation.
Since we are talking streets, let's stay on the streets. Annie, if I go and steal money, and you give me the option that after stealing the money, in 3 years' time, there's an option for me to repay back the money. Do you think for the 3 years I'll be sitting down and spending the money, or I invest the money so that I can have your principal returned back to you, and then I live off the proceeds of the crime? This non-prosecute something, they have to explain the thing well to us, because even me on the sidelines is honorable. It is not selling. I can't buy it. Whoever has chopped Ghana's money, we are resetting. Whoever has chopped Ghana's money, if found liable, must go to due process, and everybody must face the music squarely. If you come and give me the option to go and steal and come back 3 years time and come and pay you back the principal I have stolen and live off the proceeds, how are we going to fight corruption? How are we going to fight crime? We want to make corruption so unattractive that the next time Akoshia's government goes into power, even if they see pin on the floor, for fear that something can happen to them, they will leave the pin for the real person who owns the pin to come for his pin. That's the kind of society we are trying to build. So, national service, unfortunate. Let me also say this. Felix, Lord Felix Jemfi and his team also, for the support that they've shown since this thing came out. Now they are proposing, not by proposing. Now, the new system there now is that you need a Ghana card to justify your allowance. So now it's not just a case where people are going to plant people's names into the system.
For the vendors.
Yes, for validation. So only people who are validated can get access to their national service funds, and that is a good way to clear the system. And then on the vendor issue, the amount of money they mentioned around these vendors and the things that Honorable was saying about these vendors, Annie, this thing was nothing short of a criminal enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
It is nothing short of a criminal enterprise. And that is the reason why there's non-prosecutorial something is going to be difficult for some of us to swallow. Because you can't participate in the crime and give me an option to walk away. That thing, I mean, lawyers it may exist for you, but we are trying to fight corruption.
Yeah, but there are some members genuinely may have not been in the known. And I'm not holding brief for them, but they may have not been in the known of this whole scheme. Maybe they were asked to do something into details they were not really.
But is it not the lawyers who say that
they were not involved?
Ignorance of the lawyers no excuse?
No excuse. Well, no, but at some point you may want to. Well, I'm not sure how it works within the judicial.
After the program, I'll call him. You please explain the thing to me. You was not setting well.
Said a lot, but for a government that says it's fighting corruption, shouldn't it fight not just persons they allege?
Okay, so before you come in, let me read this for you.
No, let me just say this, because if you take
somebody is coming to educate us.
No, someone is just saying some education issue. So I just want
$200 million embezzlement, but the AG has discontinued the case. Why? $200 million.
That's a new issue you're raising. So let me read this.
Okay.
The non-prosecution agreement. Mm-hmm. Mark from USA is helping us. Says that a non-prosecution agreement.
Mark is logistics and transport.
Please, he has helped
Mark is not a lawyer.
A non-prosecution agreement is a type of agreement which a prosecutor, usually a government and an individual or organization, where the prosecutor agrees not to pursue criminal charges or prosecution in the exchange of certain conditions or actions. Well, in the layman's understanding, that's how we are
giving evidence. Or accruing, as you say.
So it says that key features
in the mix.
No admission of guilt is part. NPAs often do not require the individual or organization to admit guilt. Conditions. NPA typically include conditions such as cooperation, compliance with laws, or payment of fines. 3. Limited scope. NPAs may only apply to specific offenses or conduct. That's why I said that it depends on the offense. By just a look at how it's couched, non-prosecution agreements. It can't be that you've done something and I'm just saying that
after this
go away
program,
for free.
I'll
You
I'll
can't
go
do
and look
that.
for him
But so let's continue. It says that
further
the
education.
purpose is that
I'm not
one
convinced.
encourages cooperation. NPAs can encourage.
NPA.
Gabriella, listen. NPAs can encourage individuals or organizations to cooperate with investigations. Two, resolving cases efficiently. That's NPAs can provide an efficient way to resolve cases without need for trial. And then examples are corporate cases. NPAs can often be used in corporate cases where companies agree to cooperate and implement compliance measures. While white collar crimes, NPAs may be used in white collar crime cases where individuals agree to cooperate and pay fines.
But she's saying that isn't it a convenient excuse?
I can speak
to
for myself.
double and please.
I have issues. I have issues with this thing, and then I have issues with plea bargain.
Why?
Yes, because when it appears that that's what my conflict is. But as for the government, we support it in everything that it does to fight corruption. But we want the right thing to be done, and we from the street, don't confuse us with legal terms. The street is the street. The Lord works a bit different there. If the person has stolen the thing and we've caught the person, if everybody is getting 2 lashes, everybody gets 2 lashes. We don't separate anybody and then we slap you and then somebody gets lashed. Judgment and everything should be fair.
Yes.
But
Everything
I'll
should be fair.
I'll
Like
get
that.
better
She
to
says,
put my own mind at rest.
She
So
says
that my next
should be fair. And I agree, everything should be fair, but it's marks of poor precedent if the AG is discontinuing corruption cases against appointees of the previous government and pursuing now alleged corruption cases in the just exited government, quote unquote. Saglemi, $200 million. What was there to show for it? We saw the issues.
You went to court 8 years.
That case was
you didn't do anything with that
by
case.
a defense attorney can put.
Odami himself
can
was
find
prosecuting
ways
those cases.
To, drag their feet and everything. But if we are talking about fairness, I don't think it's fair to wipe the slate clean on corruption charges for previous appointees.
Maybe the AG knows something we don't know. Because Odami was just there 8 years. He couldn't
an issue out of alleged cases. Now that's all I'm saying. I'm just speaking of the fairness and the principles that she's outlined now. It doesn't help her sweetheart, Attorney General Ayine, as she's also confessed here this morning on set. Thank you.
So the Saklemi issue. This is what the Attorney General says. The Attorney General and Minister of Justice Dominic Ayine has officially withdrawn all charges against former Works and Housing Minister Dauda and 4 others in the Saglemi housing project. This was stated in a prosecutorial notice filed at the High Court Division in Accra, February 7, 2025. Okay, I want to continue reading, but
okay.
So the notice indicated that the state would no longer pursue the case against Collins Dauda, Kweku Agyemang-Mensah, and Minister for Water Works and Housing, Alhaji Ziblim Yakubu, Director of Ministry of Works and Housing, blah, 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 blah. The notice signed by the Attorney General, Minister of Justice, also officially ends the prosecution case against the accused. Some of the cases he continued, he gave reasons. I thought that this was also one of the reasons, but I don't have any specific reason to provide.
Oh, they reduced several cases, not just Saglemi.
That's what I was trying to say. Yeah. That Chumbo says that, Annie, please tell Akosia Menu that, okay, please, my sister Akosia Menu is being gentle and demure this morning because she cannot fathom how people can chop 548 million Ghana cedis without being checked.
Allegedly.
I can tell she's dumbfounded. I don't blame her. We, indigents of Latekrapim, home of the Akunedi, never take what we haven't earned. But that's something, okay, but that's something on she, myself, and you will know. Well, I don't know if Miracles Abuachi also remembers that Akosia, the principal suspect in the Saglemi case is dead. Okay.
That one should also be investigated. How the man died.
The principal suspect.
Yeah, the white guy.
Seth says that. Good morning, Annie.
The word on the street was that somebody finished him.
Okay. ESLA was for 5 years, from 2016 to 2020. The NPP government extended to 2035 and mortgaged it. If it had not been mortgaged, the energy sector debt would have been paid with billions in reserve. Government must tell us what the ESLA was used for from 2017 to 2024. Seth sent that in. Good morning, Annie. Ghana was inundated with one corruption scandal. But today, Ghanaians are experiencing fuel price dropping, inflation dropping, tight fiscal policies, lean government with prudent economic measures. This is a government which is at its nascent stages, and it will be appropriate for opposition actors who plunged this country into the state of abyss to rather criticize constructively. David Edu sent us in. Prince, okay. Moses says that this kind of crime, talking about the National Service, this kind of crime only be committed with the coalition of officers in higher authority. It appears IT systems was breached. Yes, first to include people not entitled to be on the payroll. Authorization procedures were then breached. The opening of bank accounts and withdrawals could only have been done with the coalition of certain officers at the banks. And for me, that's the part that surprises me, because banks cannot be acting like they are so strict when you're even going to take money. Sometimes, depending on the amount of money you have to take, the rigorous processes you have to go through. But this one makes it so easy that even with different vendors, one person can just go to the bank and clear.
No, so
is that easy?
I want to understand something. Is it every you people, your minds will be different level? So is it the case that the lady went to the bank with a list of the 9,000 names and told the bank, these are my guarantors for my 30 million
From the
loan?
breakdown of information, there are people even within the banks that before they go and take the money, they call.
Wow. Health conditions. I was surprised that they made mention that when they go to hospital, they have to pay for their health services. And I thought, why are they not also on the health insurance? So that it's part of the conditions of service. It's for everybody. It's for every citizen of Ghana. So why do you have to pay for a service yourself, especially
as a health provider?
As a health provider. Additionally, whichever health facility that you are assigned to should be able to offer you, aside your conditions of service with government, whichever health facility that you are assigned to should also be interested in your own well-being. Look, yesterday when I was watching a program on Joy News, the consulting room, I think, and they were interviewing a doctor who was talking about diabetes and hypertension, and he himself was suffering from diabetes and hypertension. And for the first time, listening to a doctor have a conversation with a doctor who is suffering from an ailment, right? And how he kept talking about his past decisions and how the whole disease came about, and how he wasn't even considering that he could get those diseases, even though some of it is genetics. But the thing that I learned from that conversation, watching that conversation, was that even health professionals have to prioritize themselves. So I think that any health facility, it doesn't matter whether you are with Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association or some other association, so long as you are working in that facility, and people coming in, day out, whose very lives is in your hands, the least the facilities can do is to provide you free medical care. It shouldn't be a difficult thing. Again, it shouldn't be a difficult thing to have them on the national health insurance. Day in, day out, we have NGOs and politicians and so many groupings mobilizing people and facilitating for them to get on the NHIS. So I think that they being the people who provide the service, it shouldn't even be debatable that they should be there. They should be there.
But I don't think they are not on the scheme. I think they are doing, their complaints is just like the people complaining, that you might be holding a card, but you still have to pay for the services. Because
that was because for the last, the conversation we were having earlier, about how you go and mortgage all these funds and you can't access these things. Then you go and put, what do they call that thing, that Kinoforiata went to do? What was that thing that we removed recently?
You removed?
Yes, the NDC came and removed it.
The e-levy?
No. There's this term that they use.
The capping?
Capping policy. Okay. So you go and cap the NHIS, and beyond a certain, you can't.
Threshold, yeah.
Threshold, beyond a certain, they don't have access to those monies. Now that we've decapped it, every fund that is meant for NHIS is going to NHIS. And that's the way it should be. Because if you stifle the fund management, you stifle the institution. And any fund that is geared towards mass groupings, you end up putting mass groupings in jeopardy. And that is what happened to NHIS. You understand? So if we are paying, when we pay our VAT and get fund and we pay NHIS levy, anything that is due at the NHIS fund also automatically go to the NHIS. And that's how you sustain the fund.
It's how we're even recording zero.
Because if me personally, one of my positions about the NHIS fund, I want to see the day where even the ambulance service is on the NHIS. Because I don't understand why people call for the ambulance service and they come and sit there with a vehicle that doesn't have fuel. And in the time when you were in an emergency and in a crisis, you now have to worry about how to fuel an ambulance.
So my producers are telling me that the prosecution agreement that we're talking about, the AG actually took time to explain. So when we have time, we'll play it. But let's finish with this, and then I'll give some, because I'm sure viewers will also want to understand how that applies.
My point is that the nurses have spoken. I think we've all heard the challenges, and we'll just plead with them and all the various unions. This government is still a very young government, just 6 months in office, trying to put things in order. So we'll plead with all unions to be patient, to exercise patience, and rather dialogue first of all, so that we'll make progress and we can all move forward as a country. At the end of the day, we all want stability and being able to access good schools, good education, good health sector, security improving, people finding jobs, the economy is stable. Those are the basic things that we all want and desire.
Okay.
Thank you for making time with us once again. We really appreciate your time. And to all our cherished new viewers, we urge you to subscribe for more videos, like and also share to other friends of yours, any platform, any WhatsApp platform it belongs to. Share it with them and let them know what is happening in Ghana and around the globe. Thank you. Much appreciated. Gracias.
Dedi kama mamena PENDREAM TV ase. Na so far so good. Say open online portal e wo Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.